going? Asked Dennis. You'll see, replied Lisa with a wink. She marched off across the playing field with Mac trailing behind. The Molded Street supporters once again howled with delight. Another goal. 6-0. Dennis closed his eyes. He couldn't watch anymore. 1,000 smiles. Where the hell are they? Yelled Mr. Hawtrey at no one in particular. The second half was about to begin, and Molden Street were all waiting on the pitch, eager to finish off their demolition job. The school's team was nowhere to be seen. Had they run away? Then suddenly Elisa stepped out of the changing room and held the door open. First, Gareth ran out wearing a gold lame ball gown. Then Darvish followed in a yellow polka dot frock. Then the defenders were right behind them in matching red cocktail dresses. The rest of the team followed in a variety of outfits from Lisa's wardrobe. And finally Dennis came out of the dressing room in a pink bridesmaid's dress. There was a huge cheer from the crowd. Dennis looked at Lisa and smiled. Go get him, kid, she said. As they ran to the pitch, Mr. Hawtrey bellowed at Gareth. What on earth do you think you're doing? Boy, you expelled Dennis for wearing a dress, but you can't expel us all, sir, he shouted back tartly. All the boys in the team lined up defiantly behind their captain, striking poses like they were dancers in a Marma video. The crowd went wild. This is a disgrace, bellowed Mr. Hawtrey. He stormed off angrily, brandishing his walking stick and sitting. Gareth smiled at Dennis. Come on, boys, let's do it, said Gareth. The bemused referee blew his whistle before it fell out of his mouth. Within seconds, Dennis had scored a goal. The Molden Street team were in shock. They were still 6-1 down, but Dennis and his teammates were back in the game. Woo! Shouted Darvish as he hitched up his skirt and weaved round a defender. Laughing, Dennis scored again. He was on his way to a hat trick, and he was 100 times happier than he had ever been. He was doing the two things he loved most at once, playing football and wearing a dress. Then Darvish scored, sliding across the pitch and adding a large grass stain to his frock as he sneaked the ball past Molden Street goalie. 6-3. My boy in the yellow polka dot dress had scored, shouted Darvish's mom. They were on fire. Dennis set up a fantastic cross for Gareth, who just had to tap it into the net. 6-4. Gareth, being Gareth, celebrated like this goal would be replayed forever on a match of the day, doing 3 victory laps on the pitch and hitching up his gold lame ball gown as he ran. The crowd laughed and cheered. Then another goal followed, and another. 6-6. Now there were only a few more minutes of the game to play, 1 more to go, and they had done it. Come on, Dennis, shouted Lisa. You can do it. Dennis looked over at her and smiled. It would be really cool if I score now, he thought, especially in front of Lisa, my future wife. But at that moment, Dennis fell to the ground in pain. The crowd gasped. One of the Molden Street strikers had nobbled him, kicked him right in the shin when he didn't even have the ball. Dennis lay there in the mud, holding his leg in agony. The referee had seen nothing. He's putting it on, Reeve, protested the Molden Street boy. The crowd booed. Dennis was trying really hard not to cry. He opened his eyes and his vision swam, lying there, grass pressing into his cheek. He peered up at the crowd. Through the tears, he glimpsed a red-checked jacket that looked very familiar. And then the red-checked jacket turned into a man, and that man shouted in a deep voice that was even more familiar. Oi, what's going on here? Dad, Dennis couldn't believe it. Dad had never come to see him play for the school before, and now there Dennis was, lying on the ground with tears in his eyes, wearing a dress. He was going to be in so much trouble. But Dad looked at Dennis and smiled. "Oi, Reeve," he shouted. "That kid kicked my son." Dennis rose to his feet, his legs still glowing with pain, but a warm feeling spread through him. He steadied himself. Then smiled back over at Dad. "You okay?" asked Darvish. "Yeah," said Dennis. "Come on, son," shouted Dennis's dad, really getting into it now. "You can do it." "I called him at halftime," said Darvish. "After what you said about your dad never seeing you playing in a match, I thought you wouldn't want him to miss this." "Thanks, mate," said Dennis. Whenever he thought Darvish couldn't surprise him any more, couldn't be a better friend, he went ahead and did it. Gareth tackled the ball of one of the Malden Street boys. Darvish ran up to the outside, and Gareth passed to him. Malden Street charged towards Darvish, and he passed back to Gareth. Gareth panicked for a moment, then passed to Dennis, who weaved straight past the defense, before booting it right over the goalie's head and into the back of the net. The keeper didn't stand a chance. 6-7! The final whistle blew. It was all over.